Okay.
All righty. So we will start with a land acknowledgement and I will begin. Um, we would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which we gather and which the region of Peel operates is part of the treaty lands and territory of the Mississaugas of Credit. For thousands of years, Indigenous people inhabited and cared for this land. In particular, we acknowledge the territory of the Anishinaabe, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, Ojibwe people, the land that is the home to the Métis, and most recently the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, give our respect to its first inhabitants. All right. Well, thank you everyone for first spending some time with us today. If you are from anywhere which is outside Vancouver, feel free to drop it in the chat. We love to have people from all over the world. That is the goal. We want to reach as many people as we can. And we would also like to thank Christian for taking out his time to be with us here today. So just a little bit about Christian. Well, he's going to talk about himself in a bit, but Christian is going to share his thoughts on vulnerability with us today. He has been publicly speaking about his unique knowledge meditation and out-of-body experiences since he first started his journey of personal transformation. He is also an author of the book, A Walk in the Physical. I'll drop a link for the book in the chat later if you want to check it out. And over to you, Christian.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. I'm really happy to come to this group. Vanessa and I have been working together off and on over the years, and I really respect the work of your group. So I'm really honored to be here. And hello, everybody. Hope we're having a great afternoon in the human experience today. So I'll just give a quick introduction about myself. And then I want to talk about vulnerability. And I want to speak about it in the context of what we really are. You know, because while we're here walking on the earth and having human experience, we are deeply tied into the forms and the stories of our lives, and it can help take a step back and to have some perspective about what we really are, what we're doing here, and the part that vulnerability plays in that, because it's actually a very significant idea. So first of all, I'm a pretty normal guy. I've worked in the nuclear industry for the last 15 and a half years, managing complex nuclear valve and pump projects. But I don't associate just with the work that I've been doing. I have awareness that none of us, all of us, none of us are human. We are all more than human. And so I know that I am not just the human character. So I say I am Christian, but it almost feels strange to say so, because I know I am the awareness of, I am my awareness, the I experiencer who is knowing this content of my life, including my name and my body and my job and all these things. So I can talk about who I am, but none of us can really say who we are just by describing some forms. We are far more than the forms that seem to define us while we're here. So but in my story here, though, I came across Tom Campbell's work 11 years ago. I believe Tom was the guest on the first week. He's an amazing man, consciousness and physicist, conscious explorer and physicist, Tom Campbell. I came across his work 11 years ago, and it set me down a path that I, before that, would not have expected. I took up a meditation practice, and as I did so, I began to have non-physical experiences for myself, which were very eye-opening. And I also had memory return to me of my time before I was Christian. So I remember the incarnation process. I remember accepting the veil to be veiled and to have this life. And I remember choosing this life and why, and it has helped for me in my process of going through what I experience here day to day. So with that understanding and that perspective, I really seek to and hope to remind others that all of us are more than this story. And what we really are is wonderful. We are beings of freedom and joy and love and power. That's what we are. We are spirit. We can put a word on it, but there's not actually any word or combination of words we can use, because words are of our world They're form, they're symbols, and what we are transcends the world of form, transcends all symbols. So we can't take some symbols that are based in our world and then describe ourselves fully with them. No, what we are is that which cannot be named. We are beingness. We are life itself. And within that living substance of consciousness, of awareness, arises the experience of the physical and the experience of being human. So if that's what we are, when we come here and be human, here's the big thing. We feel very separate while we're here in the human experience, because when we come, we accept what we call the veil, which is just a word, but it means the limitations that go along with being human. So that it includes the limitations of not remembering all the rest of what you really are. We choose to forget the rest of the totality of our being so that we can focus very deeply into being human and having this experience, being this person with this name and going to work in the morning and eating breakfast and driving the car and, paying the bills, all that stuff. We do all that because we are able to focus fully into this experience because we are veiled, and we do that voluntarily. So I know that a lot of people can take issue with that because a lot of people are very, it's normal to experience a lot of fear here. And when there's fear, there's pain. And when there's pain, we resist, and a lot of people reject the world and reject the experience. And they say, why would I sign up for this? Why would I come and be human? This is crazy. But in fact, the depth of contrast that is available here, the depth of rigorous, the rigorous level of experience that we can have, the denseness and the physicality of this experience is incredibly valuable to us. And so we choose to come. But the state of being separate, feeling separate, it's actually not being separate because we're never actually separate. The state of feeling separate from one another and feeling like our original power has been cut off, that state prompts fear. It tends to prompt fear. It doesn't automatically do so. It does so, however, because the constraint is so extreme that for those of us who yet have ways to go in evolution, which is the vast majority of us, it prompts fear. And so then the ego, which is just a part of the self that tries to help us out and fix the problem, rises up and does whatever it can throughout our lives to try to fill this hole, to try to fix the fear that we feel from being in this experience of separation. So whether we are aware of it or not, a vast majority of us are motivated day in and day out, in many cases, on making choices to try to alleviate some egoic need for self-validation or power, or seeking the love that seems to have been lost, or just trying to find the thing that feels like it's missing. We're always searching. Is it the next activity? Is it the next substance? Is it the next person? What is the next thing? And we do that so much because this state that we're in, we yearn to return. We yearn to know again the truth of who we really are, the wholeness of our connection to all things, our connection to each other, our connection to source. But we never actually lost it. That's the thing. The veil is very rigorous. It's very firm. It's consistent. It works really well. But our true nature never actually changes. We really are right now, the spirit that we are is right now connected to all things right now. To put it another way, and Tom said this once long ago that really helped me. He said, you're already on the other side right now. And it is true. Metaphorically, it's like we fall asleep in heaven to have the dream of being on earth, but you're still there because your true nature is of that. It's already of love and freedom. Okay, so I know that's some heavy stuff, but I preface with that because the topic of vulnerability is very directly pertinent to then what we're doing here. So we come deep into this experience of separation, we experience fear, and then we do everything we can to fix the problem, and our egos erect this great facade, this great castle to try to protect this castle of self-justifications and beliefs. Like, I believe I'm valuable because I have this thing, or I can do this thing, or I am in this group, or I have this religious belief, or whatever. We grip onto the things of our lives and we think that gives us our power. Maybe I have an ability, or I have physical beauty, or whatever. The things that we grip onto in the story are not the true power. True power is in what we really already are. Awareness itself, spirit itself, consciousness itself. The substance of what we are is already full of everything that we seek. The love and the freedom and the peace and the joy that we yearn for is we are already that. And we resonate with things that remind us of that because they remind us of that. As soon as if somebody tells you they love you and you know they mean it, it's like, oh, that feels wonderful because you are loved. We are loved. And when you look at a sunset or something, and it's beautiful, and wow, reality is beautiful. This is so beautiful. That breathtaking awe that you feel and that just glimmer of a moment, again, connects you to what we really are, because we are powerful and creative beings. And that beauty is a reflection of our creative power. So I say all that because what we're seeking is not the next story. It's not the next self-justification. It's not the next drug. It's not the next relationship or job or the next money, the next payday. What we're seeking is what we already are. And vulnerability is a direct road back to it. Because vulnerability is a way of basically cutting through the red tape of the ego stories. It's a way of not listening to things that we think justify us and going directly to what we actually feel. And so many of us resist what's actually in there, but we're vulnerable. When we let ourselves be vulnerable, either with another person or with the world, with ourselves, we find that we have all these feelings we've trapped away. And when they rise up, sometimes they can be full of so much emotion, so much pain, so much fear. That is okay, because the very bottom of everything that's happening is love. The foundation, if you go down beneath all those stories and feel all the feelings within you, at the bottom is love and joy and peace. Okay, so with that being said, I would like to suggest just a few things that we consider as we entertain the idea of vulnerability. Before I do, because I already said a lot, if there are any thoughts or questions, please do interject. This is a conversation. I'm happy to go down any tangent anybody has, any thought that arises. Please just do let Vanessa know or just jump right in.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, absolutely. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to raise your hand and chime into the conversation. I do want to say, Christian, I personally have a question, so I guess I'll start. So it's not that I'm scared of being vulnerable, but I just don't like people to perceive that my vulnerability as my weakness. Like, because when you're being vulnerable, you're kind of being raw and authentic and honest, and a lot of times people mistake that for being like, oh, poor thing. Like, how do you like? And I personally know how much courage it takes to be vulnerable. So how do you change other people's mindset around you that you can actually be vulnerable?
Yeah. Well, the thing that is threatened when someone sees that you're vulnerable then is your own story about yourself, because when you are worried how they're going to perceive you, but that is your fear of not being seen or understood for the powerful being that you are. It is, what does it mean if somebody sees you in a way that is, what if they think you're weak? If someone thinks you're weak, it is only your own ego that rejects that. That is not okay with someone else looking at you as weak, because that's image. The image of the ego is, I'm not making light of it. I'm not I'm not saying it's easy, but the truth of who you are is already of strength and life and power. And the perspective of another person, whether they think you're weak or not, is not pertinent to the truth of who you are. It is only pertinent to the story that you think justifies who you are to yourself, when someone else can see that in you. That might not be satisfying to the ego.
Thank you. No, it makes sense. I think it's different when somebody says it like that. It makes complete sense. It's my own fear. Yep.
Like if someone is lying, I'm often brought to deep humility when I'm in the presence of someone who is deeply suffering with a physical condition and they're in like bedridden or something. And that ties into my reason for being here and the fear that I'm here to face. But anyway, so when I feel that, I look at that person, and it's like that is not who they are. They are the experiencer who is knowing this condition. And in fact, they are a brave being who is going through this experience. The weak body may be weak, but is that who they are? In 100 years, is that who they're going to be? No, the body passes. All the things that are transient that we grip onto, our name and our story and what people think of us, and if we're wearing the right clothes and how that will all pass. That which will not pass is spirit, which is just another word for consciousness or life itself. You will not pass. The you that feels like you to you will be more alive, not less alive, after the end of these constraints. The death of the physical body is just a release of constraints. It's not an end of a person. It is a setting free. It is leaving a heavy spacesuit behind and flying off without it and going, oh my gosh, that was crazy. I can't believe I walked around in that heavy spacesuit for 80 years. So if you look at their spacesuit and it's having trouble, does that reflect on them? No.
Christian, you said before that the fear that you're here for, that you're here to face, I think is what you said. So I'm curious to understand more about what is the fear that you're here to face.
So in my pre-incarnation planning process, I knew there was a certain very low vibration that I needed to re-experience that had bested me in a previous experience. And I had previously died an agonizing death as a result of my being overwhelmed by and overcome by and losing all my power to this fear. And the fear is, we like to think of things as we're humans, like a fear of something. It's not a fear of a specific thing, it's a vibration. It's a fear that, so fear is like when you buy into a perception that is not in alignment with the truth. Okay, so if you believe I am powerless, that provokes fear because the truth is you're a powerful being. Or if you believe I am unworthy of love, that provokes fear because the truth is you're loving and loved and you are adored by source itself. So in this case, the fear for me, what is fear? So it's like a combination of the inability to escape pain mixed with being too proud to suffer, like not being willing to suffer, to be stuck in suffering. Well, I am in the process of meeting that, and I have met it many times, and I feel I've healed a great deal of it. For me, it peaked at an experience when I was 22. I had a traumatic experience when I was living in China, a health experience. I've had many health challenges throughout my life. It's part of what I'm experiencing this time around. But the ability to integrate that fear, and what I mean is meet that and like be fully present with it, and there's like so this is a huge topic and it's hard to summarize, but there is a huge expansion of being that is possible when we can go so far away vibrationally from what we really are, and when we can meet that experience and integrate that, there's this incredible growth of the joy and the love of being. Both, and it's both ourselves that grow, and it's also the whole, because we are a part of the whole. So we're actually performing this great service by being here and meeting the experiences of our lives and growing through them. And that's what I wanted to do, with this intention.
We have a question from Emily in the chat. She's asking, do you have any tips or advice on how we can overcome the fear, our ego our ego, and be more vulnerable?
Yeah. Well, the main reason that we have a problem is because we don't want to feel what's in there. We don't want to feel weak. We don't want to feel pain. We don't want to face the darkness that we are. And so that's actually the first of the 5 things I wanted to mention as to what we should consider as we consider the idea of vulnerability. And that is be willing to feel everything, all the darkness and pain that is within you. Now, it can feel like, most of us are like super afraid of something, the end of life, death, not being accepted, something or things that we're really, really trying our best to avoid. That's what ego does. It tries to just avoid and placate and give us whatever fake power it can. But the real pain, the real fear, the darkness remains under there until we're ready to go face it. In my case, I had post-traumatic stress after this traumatic experience in China when I was 22, and I went through counseling for about 7 or 8 years, EMDR therapy. And I found layer after layer after layer of how in my whole life, there were like branches and branches of a tree that had built off of this deep fear that I had. In my own case, at least, I found that what was so powerful was to go and actually feel it. But like not make it up, not like go look for it, but it will come up. Like if you have fear and you got something in there, it will find its way up eventually. Eventually there will be some circumstance that will trigger it. And as soon as you trigger it, you're going to panic. You know, you're going to feel like, oh my gosh, this is too much. I can't handle this. Be with it. Don't judge it. It's okay. It's totally okay. Whatever you're feeling is totally okay. Let it rise up. And when it rises up, give it the gift of sitting with the feeling itself, not the story. I'm not talking about the story about the pain. I'm talking about the feeling in the body. Feel deeply with that feeling. When it arises, allow yourself to feel it to heal it. It can feel like, and when you find that deepest level of pain or fear, it can feel like a tornado that will destroy you if you look at it. Like it will not feel, it will be overwhelming. Like the reason it's locked away is because it has felt too big for you to process. That's why it's locked away, because you didn't feel in the past that you were capable of processing it. So when you let it up and it rears its ugly head, it can feel like, I actually really like that. I think this analogy is from Rupert Spire. He's a non-duality teacher. I love him. Like a tornado that will destroy you. And it's like you need to step into the tornado. And when you step into the tornado, it's going to pick you up and throw you around and bash you all over the place. It is going to do that because these pains can be very, very deep. This fear that we carry with us can be super, super deep. And when it throws you around and you have to be willing to feel it, even if it will destroy you. And guess what? It won't. It won't destroy you. It will throw you all over and you'll hit the ground and then it will be gone. Because now the presence of your alert awareness itself, your willingness to meet the present moment as it arrived, heals it. Not because you're trying to heal it. You don't go do it so that you can get rid of it. The quality of your intention is important. You don't go in with just to get rid of it. No, you simply allow reality to arrive to you as it will. Allow your emotions to arrive to you. Allow your own, look at yourself with open eyes. It's okay if you have imperfect motivations. It's okay if you have fears. It's okay if there's a 5-year-old little boy or girl in there who is still freaked out because your parents told you something that, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's okay. As it rises up and you allow it to be felt fully, and if you give it your full awareness and let it be felt, that allowing it to be felt completely disarms it and the wind can dissipate. I personally have found meditation to be very helpful in this process because as you meditate, you become less beholden to the stories that prevent you from feeling the crap that's down there. Because as you gain awareness with what you are, which is awareness itself, the thoughts lose their oomph. They lose their, you realize that they're empty. They're just dreams passing through your awareness. They're not really that real. And so if the thoughts lose their hold on you, well, that means the ego stories have to lose their hold on you because the ego stories are just repetitive thoughts that keep rising up over and over again. So as soon as you reach that point when you feel your awareness and you become more and more in tune with who you are, your ego will be threatened and the fear will come up. And that's okay, because now the stories are being let go. Just by recognizing that you are not the thought, you are the I that is knowing the thought. Just by doing that, that crap that's down there will rise up at moments that are right for you. It'll just come. And when it comes, you just be willing. You're willing to be and to feel everything that you have felt or that you've rejected. So that's kind of my second item, actually. So the first thing I wanted to say is be willing to feel. And the second one is be willing to let go of the false power of the story. So what story? The first is the reasons why you guard yourself. Why do you guard yourself? And the second is the ways that you justify yourself. So I am worthy because of X. So for me, it used to be, I am worthy because I got all straight A's in college. See, look, now I'm smart. So now that I'm smart, like, see, now I have worth. That's not where our worth lies. Or look, I have value because I have this attractive person next to me. Or look, I have value because I have money in my checking account. That only goes so far. It's okay. It's okay if, I mean, that will happen. It's okay that those stories happen. I'm not saying that they're bad, even. It's just that they will ultimately not satisfy, because the bank account can be lost, the partner can be lost, your health can be lost. And eventually that which is really in you will demand to be seen. That is actually one of the main things that this physical reality does for us, is it forces us to face our crap. Because it's so consistent, it's in our face, doesn't go anywhere. And over time, as Tom Campbell says, we get what we fear. Not because it's a masochistic system or something. No, it's actually a gift to us. That we are in it. We signed up for a place where in the long run, we will get the ability to face our own crap and to heal. And as we do so, we find that the love and the joy and the peace of spirit is what we always were. It never went anywhere. So I'm sorry I went on for a while there. Was there a question?
We have comments. We have
Okay.
Sheila's comments, and Sheila has a comment saying, I have found that we need to realize that what you are at your very core is a powerful spiritual being that nothing or no one can harm.
Amen to that. Absolutely.
Amen.
That's exactly true. It's what I'm saying is the truth of the being that we are cannot be harmed.
And
So if that's true, if that's true, why are we not being vulnerable? Oh, because I can be harmed, right? Well, you can feel deeply if you're vulnerable. You can be seen differently. But can you be harmed? No.
we also have Emily's comment saying she loves what you said and she'll always remember it, feel it to heal it. I totally agree. I don't think I'm ever going to forget that. It's just that one line that just hits home. And Greg says, and if we can't process what we feel, we lock it away. That which we exile always comes back to haunt us.
Exactly. Yeah, we lock it away. But here's the thing, like we lock it away. Where do we lock it away? Well, it feels like it's somewhere else. But all experience is happening in the one now with a capital N, which means the trauma that I experienced when I was 22 is now too. And so the reason it keeps coming up is because there's nowhere to put it except somewhere in the separate self's consciousness, the psyche. You can lock it away. That's not truly facing it. That's not truly integrating it. We are integrators of experience. That's what we're doing here. We're integrating experience. We're having experience and integrating it with what we are, the totality of what we are. We're coming and saying, can we be this man or woman, this husband or wife, this father or son, this mother or daughter, this worker, this whatever we are? Can we integrate that experience, actually being that? How does that feel? That's what we're here to do. And the thing is, Earth is just super, super, super challenging. It's super, super high contrast. It's so dense. It's like, I heard it compared to an extreme sport in a video I watched recently. And I love that so much. Being human is an extreme sport. It's not for the faint of heart. All of us here today are like the beings who are willing to really take it to the highest notch and really get our hands dirty and participate in a creative process, which is just, to some beings, unfathomable. I mean, we actually forget that we're connected to source here. We forget that we're connected to each other. We feel separate. Holy cow. like, what are we doing? It's so extreme. But here we are, and the depth of that extremity is the depth of the potential and more. You see, it's as far away as we can go. If we can integrate that, that's so powerful. So every one of us has the chance to do that today, every day. And all we have to do is be faithful to our experience, listen to our experience, watch, be alert, feel what comes up, be the best we can to the people around us. And if we get feedback, really try to take it to heart and learn, not intellectually learn, but feel what does this experience mean to me? How does it change me? Like Tom Campbell said, it's being level growth that we're here to do. It's not behavioral. Behavioral happens as we at the deeper levels process our stuff and process life. Okay, so I'll jump back in. So the third point I wanted to say, the sensitive you is the powerful you. So a lot of us, the longer we're here on Earth, we tend to get calloused over, and I certainly have felt that in myself at times. It's just, we're in an extreme environment for a long time. We're in a world that just so seldom seems to not understand us. I mean, we live in a society that's kind of, the root drive of our society is off. Our society is driven by consumerism and competitiveness, and that is not in alignment with what we really are. It's not in alignment with love and acceptance and quality of being, quality of life. So it's hard to be here sometimes. So as that's true, we often just become calloused over. And by the time we're adults, we got lots of layers of grumpiness ready to just protect us. You are still the little child in you that wants to experience the joy of whatever it is that you love. That's still who you are. And so the sensitive you is actually the powerful you. In the higher realms, sensitivity is a profound strength. It's a gift. It's the ability to feel deeply and to know deeply and to see deeply is a powerful gift. Many people who come into spiritual searching are very aware people. And because they're so aware and they're so deep and they feel so much, or they're artistic, or they have whatever depth of being that the creative nature of our being is felt poignantly. Those people, those among us, which are us, tend to suffer the most because we experience the contrast the most. But the more that we are deep even here, actually that means the more expansion of being that is possible, the more integration that is possible, the more strength of spirit that is possible. So I'm just saying, in the context of the idea of vulnerability, don't think of the sensitive you as the weak you. No, it's okay to be, if you feel weak, it's okay. If you feel sad, it's okay. If you feel rejected, it's okay. Just acknowledge how you feel, find the sensitivity and reawaken it, pay attention to it again. It's okay to have that sensitivity. When you close off not just the pain, you close off everything. What happens is you're rejecting reality without knowing. Because it's all one thing. It's all connected. So by closing off, we climb into this cage to seek shelter from the pain, but in so doing, we lose our ability to be fully engaged with all the depths of what we can feel within us. Okay, so that segues into the fourth item. You can trust reality. Wow, what? No way, really? You can trust reality, even Earth, even this place with its rigors and its innumerable injustices. As life arises, recognize that this entire experience is ultimately built on the foundation of unconditional love and freedom and joy and wisdom. It's not built on suffering. We are not in a masochistic parlor. It's just that we have a lot of fear. And when there's millions of us here in this place who've forgotten who we are and who have so much fear, we hurt the heck out of each other every day. But that doesn't mean that reality is negative. The world is not your enemy. And when you recognize that and try to meet the world around you with that view, the world actually being there for you, not against you. Wow, that opens up doors to potentially be vulnerable, and to feel who you really are as you meet this reality. I'm not making light of any of this, and I'm certainly no master at it. I'm just sharing because I have felt so much of this in my own walk in the last 20 years. There, I used to see the world as a terrifying place. Everything was terrifying. I remember it took me years to realize I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of going to the bathroom. I didn't even know that I was. I just had fear of the sensitivity of even having a body and having to pee out of it. Like the simple things that we experience every day. But I just wish to share that all of us, we are all always taken care of and loved and adored, and there's nothing ever truly to fear. And this world then is here for us, not against us, as an experience. It's a beautiful thing. Okay, and lastly, being vulnerable with somebody is actually a gift. It is a gift not just to them, because it is a profound gift to them, and it's also a gift to yourself. We are beings of love. That is what we are. And when you are vulnerable with another person and you share who you really are and you open yourself up to them, even for a minute, that is an act of love. And vulnerability is like, I wrote in my book, it's a wide road to love. Because when you're open with them and they can be open with you, it's beautiful. Because you and them are ultimately, we're all ultimately one, we're all ultimately connected. What's there to block off from one another? Yeah, you have weaknesses, so do I. Yeah, you have fears, so do I. Why do we close off how we really feel? Because we have to maintain some story, some image in our modern world. That's not really what we are. Love is our true nature. So when we can be vulnerable, that true nature is able to rise up and be felt between each other. And it doesn't just have to be like your intimate partner or your family. It can be anyone. Like, we are all brothers and sisters, even if we haven't physically met each other before. We are all family, even if we don't remember it. And when we hear that, there's this little thing that rises up and like, oh, that feels so good if that's true. It feels good because it is true. It feels good because that is our true nature. We just seem to have forgotten it so deeply while we're separate. And the last idea I wanted to say is vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a profound strength because it is choosing the fullness of everything in the present moment to be known and allowed, which is reflective of the connectedness of what we really are. It is in alignment with the true power of our being. This is a rather extreme example, but I'll just bring this out. Let's say somebody walks into your house and has a gun, and they're threatening to shoot you because they're having a rough day. They want to steal your stuff. They're having a relationship with drugs or something, and they have a gun pointed at you. In that moment, this is an extreme example, and I don't know if I could bring myself to do this, but if in that moment, if you know this person is playing this role, they're lost in this dream, what can they do to you if you have love in your heart? They can shoot you? Okay. So that's the end of your body. That's not a big deal. But you did that, and you move on. That you that experienced that moment is now free. And it's okay that you're free, and it's okay that you were there. And you see what I mean? The true power is in what you already are. There's nothing that person can actually do to you. The people in our lives that seem to harm us, they're operating from pain that because of their fear and because of where they weren't loved. Can we not understand when the person who is being harsh to us, hurts us? Can we not understand that they are in pain, just like we are? That's okay. And so recognizing that vulnerability ties directly into that, because it means I'm in pain, you're in pain, and that's okay that we feel this. And as we allow ourselves to do that, that is the true strength. There is nothing that can overcome love. There is nothing that can overcome love. You can harm the body, you can kill the body, you can take away possessions, you can change objects. That will not touch the spirit. The spirit cannot be harmed. It can only have a very deeply engaging experience of contrast that it believes in a lot, which can seem very painful for a while, but it can't truly be harmed.
Thank you, Christian. We have a comment from Natalie. She says, I love that sensitive part of people is where the power is. I've always had my heart on my sleeve and was told that anything that went wrong was due to my sensitivity. This is the part that is the best. Me being sensitive, I can give a lot of love, and this is why I'm here. Thank you,
That's
Natalie, for sharing.
That's beautiful.
We have Emily, and Emily, if you want to share your comment, you could definitely share it yourself. If you would like, you can unmute yourself, or I can read it out for you as well. Okay, so Emily is mentioned. Okay, so Emily was saying, Brene Brown mentioned feeling a vulnerability hangover after her TED Talk. She mentioned if we don't feel hungover, then we didn't go deep enough. Do you agree? What are your thoughts? I fear the aftermath of being vulnerable, but you mentioned feeling free after being vulnerable rather than hungover. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I love that. I love that thought. Okay. I know the feeling, I believe. So when the ego story gets torn down, it is shocking. And when we're vulnerable, we're basically like not throwing down. I don't mean to be too dramatic, but we're stepping away from the ego story. And so the identification with it is what feels shocked for just a while. Because we really do believe, we really identify deeply with the story and with the character. And so when we make a conscious effort to suddenly like almost voluntarily throw that into like under the bus, so to speak, you're not actually throwing anything under the bus, but it feels like you're throwing yourself under the bus in a way. You're throwing your identity that you believe was so important under the bus by being vulnerable. That can feel like a hangover feeling. But what happens is the freedom that I'm mentioning rises up on its own. It's not like you sit there and think, okay, am I free? Do I feel free now? I should feel free now. What happens is when you are fully yourself and you are fully present, the joy and freedom of who you are naturally rises on its own, not as a thought. And so that naturally follows when we're willing to be vulnerable. Because I like Eckhart Tolle is a wonderful teacher. There's a phrase he uses often, which I think speaks to this. He says that we are to die to the ego. The separate self is to die before we die. And what he means is the death of the story of who we think we are. Not like we go murder it, okay? It's just that we go and we allow fully what we are. We are so vulnerable, so true to who we are, if we try to be, that the story falls away. And for many people, this is going to happen eventually anyway, through sickness or change of circumstance or abandonment or something. The story is going to get it's going to get threatened anyway. But that's okay, because the real you will never be threatened. Okay, so I know that sounds abstract. Let me just say one thing. That real you that never gets threatened, what is that? Where can we find that? What is that abstract thing? If you feel the aliveness in your body right now, if you feel that you are alive, and if you just like, without feeling the texture of your clothes or like movement on your skin, just feel in like the body, in the flesh of your body, you can feel this alive presence, just kind of this awake movement of life. That's who you are. And everything you know happens within that alert awareness. Even stories that can be threatened, and even bodies that can fall apart. The same alert eye awareness is what you have been and will be and always are, and it never, ever goes anywhere. It never changes. It's the eye that knows. It's beautiful. And if you spend time just like directing your attention into your body and feeling the light, like, I don't know, just your hand or something, or your shoulder even, you just feel your attention in it. Just spend 5 minutes. See if you can do this for 5 minutes without having to think about paying bills and making lunch. If you feel the aliveness in your hand, just feel it. It loves the attention, because that aliveness is what you always are. And when your body dies, you will still be that aliveness. That aliveness has nothing to do with the body, actually. I mean, I should say nothing to do. The aliveness currently is experiencing the deep constraint of the body, but the body is actually taking place in the aliveness. It's like the aliveness has been folded and crunched and formed down into the shape of a dense body in linear time. And then when the body dies, all that happens is that constraint vanishes, but the aware, that living body is still there. And in states of meditation, it's possible to experience that I, that living awareness, expand out. You don't even need to lose your body. Your body's taking place in it. So that aliveness can expand out, and I don't know how else to describe it other than it can be felt and physically, like it feels physical, physically known, even though it's not physical. It can be known in your body of aliveness that everything is taking place in you. It's not that you are stuck in it. So I say that in the context of the question because I think it's important that we understand that this aliveness, this I that I am, it's actually not a distant abstract thing at all. It's closer to you than your own breath. It's the I that's listening right now. It's beautiful.
We have a question from Valerie. Is our purpose here to experience and integrate the experience and heal ourselves and be able to connect with this world in a positive way? If we're not able to fully do this, would that mean we have failed or need to come back and try again?
Okay. These kinds of, I find that these are very hard to give a categorical answer to because the complexity of what we are is very deep. And our reasons for coming are complex and rich. But in short, yes. In short, yes, we are here to integrate the experience and do the very best we can and to bring love into this experience. Okay, if we don't do that, have we like failed our test and now we got to come back? It's you that decides if you want to have another go. It's not someone else. It's you. And some people say, well, it's my higher self, and that's not me. No, that's you. Like you, the you that feels like you will decide. And when you do that, you will do it from a much higher vantage point. And you will look back and you'll be able to see all the details of a life and all the context and all the constraints and all the things you did and all the choices you made and why you made the choices. If you're willing to look at the whys, because even there, wisdom is not automatic. You can see everything, but you still have to make wise choices for yourself. Like, oh, look, I was really motivated by fear here. You evaluate all of that, and then you can decide, okay, do I want to re-engage and integrate that? And do I want to attempt that, to expand in that way? Often from the vantage point of the non-physical, when we know our freedom and we know that we cannot be harmed and we know that we are full of love and joy and power, often we will say, yes, I want to try again. That's okay. But you don't have to. You still don't worry about it right now. Like I know so many people say, I just don't want to come back. I'm telling myself I'm never coming back. I mean, I admit sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I have these moments and I'm like, oh man, you know what? I'm just going to leave a little bookmark for myself and just remember why this was so hard. But the thing is, I can't see clearly right now because I'm veiled, I'm physical. From that perspective, you can see a heck of a lot more. And it's known. I mean, you can see, I don't want to use the word fail because I'll say that you cannot truly fail. It'd be like saying, if you go for a walk down the street and come back, do you have to do it again? No. But did you see some interesting trees? And I mean, it's a kind of a crude example, but my point is that's why I called the book that I wrote A Walk in the Physical. We're just here for a walk. This isn't this deep laborious, and we've made it very serious. Okay. We've made this very serious. And that's okay too, because we're exploring what that means too. But in the end, it's just a journey. It's just a walk. It's just like a dream. When you wake up in the morning and you had a dream, do you think to yourself, oh man, I better go back and have another dream? Like well, you may learn about yourself. I mean, it's kind of a crude metaphor, but waking up on the other side is like that. This life is seen as being like a dream by comparison. The realness of that side is self-evident. Like you just know. It's like in the morning when you wake up in your bed and you're like, oh, wow, that was a dream. This is real. That was a dream. Like you just know. No one has to convince you that was just a dream. That's kind of how this is. except this is a very rich, long, 80-year-long dream, something like that. Did I answer your question? Okay.
Okay, we have another question from Greg. Greg is asking, how can we discern our ego story from our genuine essence?
This is very personal to each individual. So it's hard to say with one thing, but the thing that immediately pops into mind that is hopefully will be helpful is the ego hurts. And our essence is free and is full of joy and doesn't hurt. So if we're doing something that feels heavy and painful or like too serious, that's probably the ego. So like, okay, so like in the context of that, I'm talking about the ego story and how you're not the story. Well, how about I say this? Like right now, I'm playing being Christian, this 41-year-old dude in Pennsylvania. So I know that I'm not the story, but does that mean that I can't enjoy this experience? No, I can enjoy this. And we all can fully enjoy what we're experiencing and experience it and like be the physical without, it's not about rejection. Actually, this is nothing about this is about rejection. It's actually opposite. It's about acceptance and about openness. And so you can do that without fully losing yourself in the story of the ego that hurts. You know, you can do that without associating so deeply, identifying so deeply with the thing that you think is so very, very important in your life that you've got to do today. If you will feel if it's motivated by fear, I mean, be willing to see in yourself, am I afraid? If the answer is yes, that will be scary. Like it will be scary to even see it. That's okay.
Thank you. Does anyone have any other comments or questions they would like to share with us today?
I will comment. I'm really grateful, Christian, for you taking the time to come and connect with us. And I love hearing you speak. I love hearing your words of wisdom and connection to the source. I know it's coming from a deeper place of meaning, and it helps me to remember, you know, the big picture. And so I'm really grateful that you took the time to connect with us. So thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, everyone here is on an awesome journey. Like don't lose sight of the beauty and the preciousness of this day, like right now, today. Like you're a superhero for being here. Nobody probably has told you recently that you're a superhero for being you and for being human. You are. This is a no joke simulation, but here you are. So please take a moment to feel that value that you have and that wondrousness that you are now, you know, just in this casual Tuesday. It doesn't, you know, this moment is good and powerful too.
Thank you, Christian. Yeah, absolutely. The fact that we're here, this is our gift to ourselves. Just some time we wanted to take out and connect with each other. So thank you, everyone, for being here today and taking out the time of your week and your day to spend some quality time with us on this Tuesday. If you have any other comments or questions, feel free to drop it in the chat or just raise your hands and go ahead and speak up. And again, Christian, thank you for taking out your time to be with us today. I think it's different. I think a lot of these things we kind of somewhere know, but when we hear it and when it's in like these clear words, it's just out there. You can't ignore it. It's just you're like, yep, I felt it, but you sometimes you just need to hear it and listen it from someone else. So thank you.
I think that's a really important point, is that, that all of us know deep down, and it's way beyond words. It's just that it's just, it helps us to have reflections in the physical. But deep down, we all know. Like, we all feel the love and the joy of what we are. We all know that we are precious and good, you know. So yeah, it can help to reflect that to each other sometimes when we get so deep into the story.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. And just for everyone's knowledge, these circles are part of our Grip to Grow campaign. So thank you, Vanessa, for giving us an opportunity to have these conversations. If you would like to check out our campaign a little bit more, feel free to go on the link in the chat. And like Emily did mention, Low Entropy is also starting our meditation sessions soon. So if you would like to check that out, feel free to check the events out. They are going to start in August. And Christian, yes, the meditation does really help. Just the mindful acknowledgement of whatever you're feeling it goes such a long way. Even if you don't want to, even in that moment, if you don't want to tackle it, just acknowledging what you're feeling is just so helpful just to proceed with our day. And thank you, everyone, for your time. I hope everyone has a beautiful Tuesday and have a good day.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.